Minecraft's textures. Whether it's the old look of the game with its noisy and high contrast charm, or the modern day smoothed over and clean Japa textures, they are without a doubt a staple of the game and make Minecraft what it is. Without an art style like either of these, Minecraft would be a completely different game and would be viewed very differently. So when Mojang was working on changing the look of the game during 1.14 in 2019, they made sure to be precise with how they would look and push out a couple of snapshots and sneak peeks regarding the texture update for feedback. And today, I will be showing you various snapshots during 1.14's development that over time updated the look of the game, as well as some texture development images that were never actually in any snapshots. I'd just like to say that I'm only going to go over textures that look like they had a major change. I will also not be covering the gradual update to textures of certain mobs, as that is for a potential part 2. 1.13 was the final update to use Minecraft's old textures as the default, as they were already preparing the grand texture update for 1.14 Village and Pillage. As you can see, all textures are nearly identical to the ones you would look around and see during the very early days of the game. 1.13 was an exception though, as this was the first update to introduce Japa's textures into the game with the new blocks the update introduced. These new textures included coral blocks, coral fans, all coral dead variants, kelp, dried kelp blocks, stripped logs, seagrass, turtle eggs, and blue ice. And at the time, these textures were criticized for contrasting with the classic look of the game due to it just being the default. For example, blue ice looks drastically more smoothed out than the normal ice texture at the time. It really was inconsistent and overall a really weird time in Minecraft development history, as it was an odd transitional period between old and new textures. It's weird that they coexisted at some point, right? And yeah, 1.13 is special for this exact reason. There would be backlash to an eventual texture change, so Mojang added the option to use programmer art on Java in the classic texture pack on Bedrock, so you can restore the old textures and play with them, except the classic texture pack on Bedrock is now deleted from the marketplace, which is probably due to my fault. Also, fun fact, Update Aquatic was the last version of Minecraft to add and only use C418's music, as he hasn't made any new tracks for the game since, and they hired new composers. It really is a transitional period between old and new. This snapshot is an important one, because it revamps nearly every vanilla texture prior to 1.13 that was currently inside the game. There are a couple left untouched, but every single iconic texture you could think of was completely changed to fit into a different art direction for this snapshot. Most of the updated textures look identical to the ones you would see in the game today as of 26.2, so I will only show the textures that have a noticeable change to them. To start off, all of the logs in the game have more contrast to them, and it's most noticeable on the birch log by far. This also carries over to planks, as they have a contrast more comparable to the original planks rather than the new ones. Personally, I like these better, but anyways, cobblestone and mossy cobblestone have a rock formation pattern that identically resembles the old cobblestone texture, which I found quite fascinating. This also applies to endstone, as its original texture is a derivative of cobblestone. Sand and all its sandstone variants have a more warm and blended appearance compared to its final 1.14 texture and its old texture. This also somewhat applies to red sand and clay, but even less so. Andesite vaguely looks like gravel for some reason. Diamond ore, gold ore, and emerald ore have the same color as their old texture variant, and emerald ore has the same formation as its old texture. Block of diamond, gold, and emerald all have a different texture compared to the final texture. Obsidian has a different pattern which applies to the enchantment table. Wheat is this weird golden brown for whatever reason, which is a complete 180 from its old texture. And that was all changed in 18W43A. It was a lot, right? But I wasn't exaggerating when I said it changed nearly every texture. A couple were left alone, like bedrock and the pufferfish, but that's really all. And if that's a lot to process at once, sorry. And better to handle it was, because Snapshot 18W44A only fixes a couple of textures based off of community feedback. For starters, sand, sandstone, and all of those variants look way closer to what we actually got. The only thing about these textures that is different is that the top of sandstone looks weird. Additionally, andesite was changed to look less like gravel and, in return, finalizes its texture so we don't have to cover andesite anymore. Obsidian's pattern has changed from last time and is also finalized. Wheat's texture has been changed from golden brown to this other shade of yellow, which doesn't look too good either. And oh yeah, also this snapshot introduces new workstations. The cartography table, the fletching table, the grindstone, smithing table, and stone cutter all have different textures than the ones we see nowadays. But other than those, that's really all. Luckily it wasn't much to handle, and there weren't many changes, but you did get to see what the community wanted changed in real time, which is actually quite cool to see. Well, here it is. The finalized textures used in 1.14 and used to this day as of August 2026. Obviously, there isn't much to cover here as it's textures everyone knows about just as much as programmer art. But since I am making a full big change timeline, I might as well include this. You may also notice that all logs and planks have new textures as it makes them contrast less. I won't cover every texture that was slightly changed, but anyways, now that we've gotten that out of the way, those are the only 3 points within 1.14's development that were major to the integrity of Minecraft's textures. Every 1.14 snapshot starting with 18W47A either already has mostly finalized textures or subtly alters blocks and items like changing the pattern to cobblestone as well as softening some textures like logs and planks. As a result, the exploration through snapshots ends here. Now that that's out of the way, it's time to show some development images. In this video, we have looked through the evolution of Minecraft's modern art style. Minecraft's art style has come such a long way. Even in recent times, there have been different eras separating the new textures. But yeah, that was the Minecraft textures you forgot about. Let me know if you would like a part 2. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.